This event here today is powered by Sarangi, the store. We run a physical store here and an online store, sarangithestore.com. This event here is hosted by Margazhi.org. It's an online platform for which is sponsored by Sarangi. It's an online platform for artists to interact with their followers, and a lot of information, updates, opinions, events, etc. related to the Indian performing art scene is out there. So when we were running Margazhi.org, a lot of common feedback that we received was it'll be nice to have a platform where followers are able to interact with the artists directly, ask questions, and also where the artists are able to share their learnings, their success stories, their journeys. So this is the this Meet the Artist is exactly a culmination of that idea. So in today's edition of Meet the Artist, we have with us Chinmayi Sripada in conversation with Aarabi Veeraraghavan. Amongst many other things, Chinmayi is a playback singer, an activist, and the CEO of a translation services company called Blue Elephant. We thank you for being here with us. And Aarabi is a writer, a contemporary dancer, and a Bharatanatyam dancer trained under the Narasimhacharis. Many of us also know her through her blog. Thank you for being with us. So, without further delay, we can.
Good morning. A lot of us, Chinmayi is in the public eye for a lot of important, significant things that she's doing. And I thought we could just begin this conversation by starting at the very beginning, when she first entered the public eye as a musician. So let's talk about the beginnings, where it started, how it was to grow up in a family of musicians, the initial training, and then how you transitioned from classical into cinema, that sort of a thing. Let's start there.
Okay, so I was trained to be a Carnatic musician. I was given the CCRT scholarship when I was 8. I did the usual, and then I no longer wanted to be in the Carnatic music field. I mean, not to hurt any sentiments, but I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like. My mother did a documentary film on Lalgudi Jayaraman, and I saw the motions of it all. I saw a lot of ugliness very early with regard to the Carnatic music field, so I didn't want to have anything to do with them and do the same kuda kuda to so many people and say pretend as if everything was normal. So I shifted over to Hindustani classical music. At least it was something that I trained here, and then I got a gold medal from All India Radio. Vasudha aunty knew the motions of it all. And then I also got a gold medal for a ghazal as well. And I started homeschooling after 10th standard. There was no point of, traditional schooling, at least as long as I am concerned. So I started studying at the National Open School. I got these certificates from NIT and SSI. I started working with KarnaticMusic.com and Satyam and Povey. Hi. And then I got an equivalent of a degree in German. I started learning French. And around the same time is when I got these, I won these competitions, the All India Radio, because that would kind of give that stamp that I am now a graded artist. Of course, the All India Radio Chennai did not want to have anything to do with Hindustani classical music because there was a lot of stiff opposition from people to not promote it here. So I'm supposed to get a certain number of concerts a year, right? So I got nothing, none of that. So yeah, after I got grade, which is the politics of it all, right? So I was pretty aware of a lot of that, and I was watching very early on. It was probably I would have liked to be generally having this very, look at the world through pink glasses a little longer, but I guess time and universe had different plans. So I unfortunately or fortunately, or for whatever the reasons, where I disliked doing the rounds, and I saw how people were not nice. So I didn't want to be around not nice people. I'd had enough of that. So I chose to be where I was happy. I started singing Hindustani classical music, and then I became a playback singer. However, my voice or how my voice is and how I sing really does not have much to do with the fact that I sing Hindustani classical music. It's because of how my mom trained me. So I was anyway trained for most of my life in Carnatic classical music, and whatever she trained my voice, that's how it ended up. So yeah, that's how.
Actually, there is a very interesting audience question, which I think I'd like to ask you here. So somebody had asked, where is that question? Wait, I'm just going to paraphrase it. So somebody had asked, how you negotiate singing in a style or a genre that you haven't worked in? How do you prepare yourself to sing in a different style for a movie? For instance, different kinds of requirements, right? Each song has its own requirements. If it's something that is raga based, then it's handled in a certain way. All songs are raga based, but it's something that is more overtly classical, it's handled in a certain way. Or if it's a very unfamiliar sort of genre, have you had any experience like that? That was one of the questions we had.
For me, the unfamiliar genre was Maya Maya. And for me, see, nobody is giving you time to prepare. You don't have time for homework. That's where I think what you bring to the table matters then. What can you deliver in half an hour? Because nobody has the time or the patience, and you need to deliver. And if you can't deliver, then you're replaced. It's as simple as that. So, for whatever it is worth, I did deliver, I guess, as long as Maya Maya was concerned. And then it is retained. I mean, how you deliver depends on, and how you sing decides whether your name will be on the CD or not. So, nobody is giving you time to prepare. And
so there is literally, you just go there,
you
just end up there, and then you take whatever is
Fake it till you make it.
That is good. I think that holds for all live performances, but it's interesting to know that recording in the studio works that way too.
No, because people do say fake it till you make it, but I would say fake it till you wake it, because you wake that thing inside you so that you'll wake it up and then you'll be that.
And then it becomes a technique.
Yeah, it becomes a technique.
I like that. And being from a classical performance space and having transitioned to a contemporary performance space for very similar reasons, thank you for saying it here.
Yeah.
But not everything that is classical is sacred, far from it.
That I guess we knew in the past year itself. I knew for the longest time.
For the longest time.
All girls knew for the longest time how safe all the mamas were. So, which mamas to avoid, which mama will slightly graze your back, and then you'll have to just do the dance around him and say, "Ayyo, mama, neenga evlo."
Oh yeah, and the elbow namaskaram.
Yeah. So we know, all us girls know how to negotiate around these. I don't know if some of these guys were actually closet homosexuals, and the men would never talk about it though. So at least we women have gotten the space to talk about it.
Finally.
Yeah.
So now let's come to the interesting part, right? So we talk about being women in the arts, and in the last few years, every year around Women's Day, we have women in arts, women in tech, women in science.
Mm-hmm.
So being a woman in the arts, there's lots of good too. There's lots of bad and ugly. So let's start with the good. And then what does it, I know it's an umbrella question, it could be anything for anybody, but I'm just putting it out there so we can use it as a point of conversation. What does it mean to really be a woman in the arts? What are the parts of it that make you happy? That it is a privilege, because it's a hard-won privilege, yes, but it's not something that everybody can sustain.
Yes.
So let's talk about being a woman in the arts, the good.
I would definitely say that I was privileged in one way. See, I came from a so-called well-to-do background and then pushed into almost poverty, and then I guess that meant that I couldn't afford a guru other than my mother. That also meant that I was safer than the others. So being trained at home automatically insulated me from groping mamas who would teach me or something like that. You had very, very few female teachers. So in which case I also saw people just automatically commenting. I have done the concert thing, right? These were so common, right, in the 90s, and I saw this growing up.
Very much so.
I know. this would be about all the big female artists that you see, and this is like openly spoken about. Men would be so sexist right on stage, and it was also ugly.
And women too, honestly.
I agree. I mean, women would be also, one of the things that I talk about from my social media handles is that, but it's strange, but most of us women are slut shamed at home. First family member that slut shames us ends up being a female relative, either your grandmother or your mother, who is shaming you for wearing a nail polish or wearing a mai. It comes from there. A lot of that's the reality for a lot of girls, whether we accept it or not, because we want to tolerate abuse and then ignore abuse and then don't even see that it is there, and then we normalize it. It's normal dane. So as a society we have normalized so much, and we have normalized just because somebody is an artist, he is capable of, he or she for that matter, is capable of any bad behavior, and we have forgiven and forgiven and forgiven, and now that we are opening up, it's hurting a lot of people. So I'm like, what the heck? I mean, high time, right? Yeah, I mean, so what are you actually teaching your kids? And you will speak about the same Carnatic musicians that you deify, and then you will send your children to them also. Enna society, I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. It's just like sending your kids to, I think, to a red light area. I see it the same way. Allow it to be abused in spite of the fact that you know that the guy is an abuser. So something's seriously wrong with all of us. That you say, okay, he's an artist, he's God, so he can do anything, and also touch my kids. Wow, super.
This is the reality of things. Yeah. It's not talking. It's just like a very that's sort of a what do you?
It's just honest.
No, it is completely.
She said bored. I said honest. It's just a big high time, yeah.
Yeah,
it's high time. I'm 35 now. I've seen this.
We all have. Yeah, I'm 33. Being there. Yeah.
Bored.
So my worry as an artist is, women do not have the privilege of just going up there and performing. As a woman who's been in the arts from when I was 3 or 4 years old, and women don't have the privilege of just going on stage and performing, or going into a studio and just recording. We are constantly subject to the gaze in many forms and ways, right? What does it do to our music, or in my case dance, in your case music? Where does that go? Because we all got into this for the joy of, because we fell in love with the music. I mean, most of us did. Some of us did. Some of us came into this because this is what we've been doing all our lives. But most of us stay because it keeps drawing us back. Let's talk about the music, because you made some spectacular music and you continue making some spectacular music. How do you keep coming back to that when all this is happening around you?
Okay, at some level, because the same reason that insulates a lot of these people as molesters is somehow the same reason that we have perhaps become slightly finer, higher individuals. We have the enmeshing of art and spirituality is very, very common for all of us. So we are either inculcated into looking at God through our art, and at some level we tap into a higher energy is what I would like to believe. I mean, to keep yourself in a
protect your own head.
Protect your own head, and I guess that was probably how they said, think about the God in it, think about the divinity in it. So in some way, form or the other, we have, I guess, clued into that space, clued into that energy, and we have, and I think that's what I look into. Even though there is noise outside, there is still silence within. So you tap into that.
So shut that noise out and...
Yeah, I mean, because it's still, a lot of it is still external. You're in trouble when that noise is inside you.
Absolutely. And then that noise starts affecting your opportunities. And then
I think it's still
unfair.
In
many ways.
It seems like that, but I think some of us will have to be balikadas, and I'm happy to be the balikada. I don't mind. To bring about change, and it needs to be done. It needs to be spoken up, and then there are people who say, okay, how do you continue to do this on a daily basis, every day in and day out? But it needs to be done, and I think if I continue to go back and tap into it, I think some of the worst days are outside. Social media is going ballistic, and I have recorded some of my most beautiful songs then. So I've been subject to like extreme shaming, which was super traumatic. I would have an ankle fracture, but I recorded the songs of 96 during then. Kadale Kadale was recorded during the peak of trauma. So clearly, at some level, it's not affecting my art at all.
That's wonderful. That's really, really something that, I mean, it takes something else to be able to, do that. It's not easy. It's very easy for, you make it sound easy, but we know, seeing from the other side, but it's not
I don't
easy
know
at
how
all.
though. I wish I had a formula.
No, it's good. I mean, this
I
is
just
you.
don't know how I do it, but it just happens. I'm
That's
able to do
fabulous.
it, upload it out, or plug in into whatever I'm doing in the background.
It's incredible. It's lovely. I wanted to ask you something. Yes. As women in the arts, the first thing we are taught is to be silent.
Yeah.
And then you grow up, and then you read, and then you experience. And one of the quotes that keeps coming back to me constantly is Alter Lord, writing in Sister Outsider. She says, "Your silence will not protect you. Mine has not protected me." So, I mean, we're constantly told to be quiet, to be maryadeyoda, know your place. And I feel like even the way we sing or the way we dance is sort of contained by that. Don't sing so exuberantly, it's not feminine. Don't dance like a man. I mean, the men power don't dance like a woman, they have to listen to that. But this whole idea, this whole notion of containing your art by the boundaries that are prescribed for your gender by this institution, it's a little claustrophobic as an artist, right? So when do you decide that I will be silent no more, and what sort of an impact does that decision have on your art? Do you think it opens you up more as a practitioner in your own practice, in your own artistic searchings?
I think for all of us, and I would say that art is contained for equally for men too, because most times we all know about the story of how the guru does not want the Sishya to go beyond him, right? Him, her. So they all want them to be limited by their own boxes and their own imaginations.
Their own insecurities.
Insecurity, imagination, their own problems, and these are stories that I've also heard my mother say. Chumma adana or guru or sangati padi or sangati extra pada. Oh, avlo sangati vandutta unakku. Appo poyiden அப்படின்றவா. What the heck, dude? Somebody has done something extra, so what? ரசிக்க முடிஞ்சா ரசிச்சுக்கோ இல்லையா? சரி,
it doesn't take away from what you have done. Yeah.
Correct. So if at that point in time the point of that class is to probably say that it's great that you are creating something, but right now just hang on into the box. So you learn all of the ground rules of this game, and then you can fly. So I mean, people just didn't do it because their gurus didn't do that and their gurus didn't do that. So it's like the continuum of oppression, which continues and continues. And this is it's not as if just because you are the guru's child, it's going to be any different for you. They are going to oppress you anyway. So I saw that, perhaps if they would all be in this very straitjacketed space, there is no expression, இப்படிதான் ட்ரெஸ் பண்ணணும், இதுக்கு மேல படிக்க கூடாது. I forgot what the guru's name was. She made sure that and some of these girls were like really intelligent. She made sure they probably had a great future in STEM, in science, tech, engineering and mathematics. She made sure that all of them quit and did BA music, wear only davani and sari. And avalla enga irukane therilla ipo. Doing what? Shining as what? And such brilliant minds, just because that lady had only this much of a thinking. என்னோட திங்கிங்க்கு மேல நீ வளர விட மாட்டேன். என்னது இதெல்லாம்? அதெல்லாம் அவன் கர்மான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். தலையெழுத்து இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு குருவை கிட்ட போய் மாட்டிட்டா. Because some of them were really good. Some of them were really lovely students. They were brilliant minds. All put into cages because the guru thought that இவ்வளவுதான், இதுக்கு மேல முடியாது, இதுக்கு மேல ஆகாது. Her husband was an army person. I even forgot.
Yes.
யாரா அவ பேரு? சீதாராஜன். ஐயோ பா. I couldn't believe it because all these girls were suddenly these 13-14-year-old girls. ஸ்கூல்ல இருந்து முடிஞ்சா அவசரமா மாமி ஒத்துக்க மாட்டா, மாமா ஒத்துக்க மாட்டா, தாவணி போட்டுட்டு தான் போறோம்.
I took my son out because he wanted me to change school, whichever school they were.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck? What was that? And the fact that parents would allow this, that அந்த அளவுக்கு வந்து we gave a power to the guru, right?
No, the first question will be நீ என்ன பண்ண,
நீ என்ன பண்ண, நீ என்ன செஞ்ச, அப்புறம் வந்து நீ வந்து அவ வந்து
why is the guru complaining about you, what did you do?
So much power we gave to an external source and decided not to trust our own kids. It's lack and failure of parenting. எங்கயோ வந்து குரு சொல்லிட்டா, that's also our culture. குரு சொன்னா தெய்வம் சொன்ன மாதிரி எங்க we also did not, we gave so much power to that position that we made them, nothing corrupts like absolute power. So all of these people are in absolute power, and when you start chipping away at that, then they're going to be hurt. I've got a lot of threats from OST mamas, students. நாங்க வந்து கேஸ் போட்டுருவோம். சரி போடு. He actually has an active sexual harassment case in the US. Active one. He went to jail. He should have gone to jail. He groped a white woman in a lift, and then she went and filed a case. I said, go, do what you want. I mean, we found which hotel, who that woman is. And I said, I have my bases covered. If you want, you go do it. But mama, OST mama, evlo nanna paadra. Vekkamaname illa ivalukku. Nijamma.
I mean, being a great musician does not absolve you of being
which is why it's
sub-average human being.
Sub-average,
to be very polite about it. Put it very,
to be polite. They are criminals. I mean, you touch a child who's 14 and 13, that makes you an offender. That apart, people think that cinema industry is like all of us are having sex all the time. It's like an orgy, and all of us are only in other people's bedrooms. I would actually say that I felt way safer in 18 years of being in the industry than I did in the Carnatic music industry. It is true. Vairamuthu groped me, yes, but not one person has touched my fingernail. I would go to a recording studio at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Sometimes நான் வந்து எங்க அம்மா என்ன சொல்வாங்க, ரேமா ஸ்டுடியோக்கு போயிருக்கேன்னா 3 மணிக்கு கிளம்பி வராத, ஸ்டுடியோல தூங்கி 6 மணிக்கு கிளம்பி வாங்குவாங்க. I have slept in studios. I have slept in AVM's floor while we were shooting all night. I was that safe. And there are other girls. All of us are as safe as we are not saying that, just because it is the industry. The point is, we have the media's glare a lot more on us, which actually makes some men a lot more careful. That is not there in classical music. It's not to their credit. It's not there in classical music and dance scene. Yeah. Who's covering them? Which Nakiran is covering them?
Absolutely.
Unless and until it's a completely, have Brahmin bashing sort of a thing. That's a different story altogether. But I'm just saying that I have really felt safe.
Because my next question was going to be about being a woman in cinema. Because all you hear about cinema is horror stories. Being even on the other side, I mean, contemporary dance is my safe space. It's all very there. If there's someone expresses interest, they express interest. It's not this whole covert, power play thing. So, but all we hear about cinema is the negatives. And what you just spoke about is wonderful. That you feel safe, much safer in that space, which is much maligned. So tell us a little bit about your experience as, a playback singer. Working in that space, making music in that space.
Right. So on that note, right. So when I used to be going to Carnatic music concerts with my mother, I used to sleep. ஓரளவுக்கு மேல எனக்கு தூக்கம் வந்துரும், தூங்கிடுவேன். And my mother used to be extremely embarrassed. சாஸ்திரி ஹாலுக்கு போகும்போது at least in the 90s I remember, so in the மாதிரி ஒரு hall இருக்கும். So I was sleeping and there was this mama who came and had his fingers in my underwear.
In Shastri Hall.
In Shastri Hall. The second one was at Music Academy. It was not in the film industry. Film industry, nobody even touched me. No matter how late. The fact is that at Shastri Hall and the Music Academy, they would take advantage of a sleeping child. That is how ugly it is. They would go after children. Not even grown people. They went after children. Thankfully, my mom gave me enough space. இந்த மாதிரி அந்த அங்கிள் என்ன தொட்டார் அப்படின்றேன். But இது even sampradaya. I said one of those people who came into sampradaya, I said this man, this uncle. எங்க அம்மா அப்பா என்ன இப்படி பண்றேன்னா சொல்ல முடியும். என்ன பண்ண முடியும் இதுக்கு மேல? Everywhere, which is why I hated Carnatic music and anything to do with Carnatic music and the people with Carnatic. It's sad. My opinion about the entire art form itself got colored because I saw only people like this. A concert space was a molesting place. I mean, what would it give a child? And வந்து ஒரு அளவுக்கு வேலை வந்த மாமா எல்லாம் அப்படி மெதுவா அப்படி முதுகெல்லாம் அப்படி தடவினா எனக்கு வந்து அசிங்கமா இருந்தது. என்னத்துக்கு இந்த மாமா கிட்ட எல்லாம் கூட கும்பிட்டு போட்டா, ஐயோ மாமா நீங்க எவ்வளவு நல்ல மனுஷன்லாம் என்னெல்லாம் சொல்ல முடியல என்னால. So coming back to that, I felt really, really happy that I was in a space where I debuted when I was 15. I debuted with Rahman sir, and that is more or less the safest space that all of us know. It continues to be safe. Raja sir's space was safe. Every studio is safe for me at least, and I know that there are other girls who say yes, they have had experiences, but once they said no, it was not as if they would come and rape them. Or they would say, you are not and soltiya.
So the notion of consent, does exist more in that space?
Correct. Illa வேண்டாம் சொல்லிட்டா விட்டுறலாம். At least அந்த அளவுக்காவது they had some sort of a, I don't know. I'm not saying horror stories don't exist. They exist. I have called out. I have done my duty. I have called out everybody that I have called out the DMK. It doesn't get any worse than that. I called out every Subhavira Pandian வந்து he put out one joke about sexual harassment case lodge பண்ணதுக்கு police station போனேன். போலீஸ்காரர் வந்து 14 வருஷம் ஆச்சான்னு கேட்டாரு. இது வந்து வைரமுத்துவை பத்தி நான் சொன்னப்புறம். So these are the progressive Dravidian party leaders who come out, who are very pro-women, very pro-feminist allies, and they would come and make statements like, I said, what is this?
Pro which feminist narrative?
No, as long as,
thing, right? As long as the feminist narrative ties in with their narrative and doesn't challenge.
It doesn't challenge.
Their institutions.
Okay. More or less, as long as you confirm into one thing that is expected of you, you're fine. The moment you start questioning, then you're a problem. So at what point in time are we actually begin to question people who hold these power structures? Now, I actually said, now I'm asking questions of the industry, I'm asking questions of people who support this sort of thing. I constantly call out misogynistic or sexist scenes or dialogues in cinema and in TV. I file complaints. What are the Rasikas doing? Where is your Carnatic Me Too? 1 year down the line. அதே இப்போ டிசம்பர் வர போகுது என்ன அதே மாமாஸோட கச்சேரி கிளம்பி போறாளா என்ன ஆச்சு அதெல்லாம் சோ உங்க ஆத்து குழந்தை எல்லாம் பரவாயில்ல என்ன வந்து இப்போ throw them under the bus for the sake of the art, is it? நல்லா இருக்கு.
Since we are on the topic of cinema, there were a couple of questions from the audience, and something that I wanted to ask as well as a performer. So let's sneak the in here. One being, where is your heart, stage or studio? Because there's a whole buzz of being in the middle of a crowd and performing, and then there is also the sort of quietness of being in a studio by yourself, just focusing on that and not having to put your energy out there. There is that, and then there is also
when is her Oscar? I think
when is your Oscar? Yes.
I don't think I can win an Oscar for singing other people's compositions. You need to create or you need to have written your own lyrics. Otherwise, you can't.
In the pipeline.
Yeah, I can't.
Not your cup of tea?
I don't think
That's
I can.
So let's start with this, and the other question will come back to me as we talk about this. Your favorite, a recording experience that you really enjoyed. One of the songs that you really enjoyed making and singing and being a part of.
I loved, at least in the recent past, I've loved being a part of Govind Vasanta's creations. I've loved singing his music. There is a lot of serenity in his composition, in my opinion. And I love being a part of his creation, to be able to sing his compositions. And I feel really grateful that I'm part of that. Yes, the studio, you can actually even micromanage your, you can switch off the lights, you can switch off the AC, you can create your own comfort zone. And on stage, you're expected to be exuberant, and you're expected to be. And for somebody like me, it is a task. I'm not the typical exuberant. I pretend it. I pretend it on stage. I'm more contained within myself. So on stage, I need to be somebody that I'm not. So and that's part of my job, and I'm absolutely okay with that. Because when people come to a concert, they want to be happy. They don't want to be, so serious and generally. And sometimes there are days that I'm a let loose donkey, and I'm very happy with that as well. So both of them have their own experiences, their own highs. So I think after a beautiful studio session, I'm left in silence, and after a great concert experience, my adrenaline is pumping, so it has its own benefit.
Aditi, how are we for time? And then questions from the audience? Okay, great. So I wanted to take the conversation back to being in the public eye. And we always talk about how the private is political the minute you come into the public eye, right? And by political I mean a personal politic, not affiliation to any political narrative. So for a lot of young people, this is again a question that came, and that was my addition to the question. But the question was, for a young person who's stepping into the art, especially a woman, if she has aspiration to be in music and in movies, what would you tell her? How would you help her prepare her head, and what would she typically need? I mean, I know this is a very general question because there's no formula, no one thing works for anybody. But is there any, for lack of a better word, advice that you would give somebody who wants a career in the public eye?
Actually, I'm going to tell you something that Vasudha auntie told me when I was younger. Even if you're நீ ரோட கூட பெருக்கனா வீட்டை பெருக்கனா அந்த வேலையை சரியா பண்ணு. Whatever needs to happen for that will happen. So what I see right now is people want to be musicians, or they want to be artists for the fame, or they want it for the glitz, and they want it for everything that comes when you probably become famous. So their end goal is not excellence in art.
Not the process.
Not the process, not the excellence in art, not to be somebody who's known for, their excellence, I would say. And they are more for the lure of how many papers are writing about me, am I an influencer? So that I think is probably not the right path to go. So I have. And when I say that, if you want to be the next super singer thing, and unfortunately it's all the reality show thing also, right?
Yeah.
So
I find that very problematic.
It is problematic. I did host it when I thought it was a very pure space, and then then the drama of it all started, and then you're selling stories, you're no longer focusing on the art, and then finally I saw that all of these artists have kind of died. A lot of them come with promise. And then the parents get into a sort of a competition, and then is it my child or your child? And it's very similar to how I think parents in the 90s wanted to project their kids as
the stage parents, no?
Correct.
The parents/managers, the stage parents.
Correct. And then
that puts an inordinate amount of pressure on the children.
Correct. And I remember flautist Vishwa sir. My mom took me to sing for him when I had shifted over to Hindustani classical music, ghazal and all that. So he said that உங்க அம்மா அந்த ப்ராடஜி சகதியில் உனக்கு போடாம இருந்தது வந்து எவ்வளவு பெரிய விஷயம், உனக்கு அப்புறமா புரியும் அப்படின்னாரு. Because the man passed a little later. But I understand that more or less the same thing that is happening in your reality show, where you're actually platforming extremely mediocre people and showing them as fantastic. Oh wow.
It's all about selling the stories and the branding, no?
Correct.
And it becomes less about the actual music and
yes. Yes. And அந்த இது முடிஞ்சவனே then nobody cares about the kid, right? அவளை நீ எங்க மேல தூக்கிங்களோ அப்படி தொப்புன்னு விட்டுருவா. So they don't, unfortunately the kids nor the parents understand the trappings of this all, and they get caught into it. This is not the real thing. You be in it for as long as you want, and then you get up, especially when they are introduced to it as kids, right? I have not seen any of these reality show kids winners make it as artists, because they're done. They have lost it. They have lost the they thought they have done it all, and again mudinjirudhu.
At a time when you should be in class learning and assimilating and watching, you're already being projected as a star. In all probability, if you had that time, you would have made it as a star on your own accord, right? So yeah, that is.
I think it's also right now it's societal pressure, because I think a lot of grandparents and parents' goal is, can my child be a super singer?
Yeah.
So that's kind of sad. Super singerல போய் ஒரு வீடு வின் பண்ணணும். அந்த வீடு வந்து அரப்பாணத்துல இருந்தாலும் பரவாயில்ல, ஆனா வீடு வின் பண்ணணும்.
Yeah. So I think before we open the space up to the audience, there were a couple of questions about the other spaces in which you work. Your work with your translation company. And we had a question from somebody, I think, who was a children's literature author, who writes for children. And she wants to know about your view on translation and the limitation of translating something.
Okay, so translation by default should be done by people who understand the cultural context of both languages. So there is a loss in translation. You can only translate so much, and you'll understand that when you start subtitling films and imagine you're subtitling a film like Autograph. So we did do that, which is into German. So என்னல அப்படிங்கறத வந்து how will you translate? All of this is cultural context. So you need to figure out what works, what doesn't work. How can you say something to a different culture so that they don't get hurt? All of that is within that one subtitle, which will pass in like 5 seconds. Maximum 5 seconds is ரொம்ப ஜாஸ்தி அந்த சீனுக்கு. I think all your manuals and everything, when you buy an electronic equipment, you will see the manual in several languages. That is a very cut to get business. அதில் பெருசாக வந்து cultural context la eduthukkanumra avasiyam illa. But when it becomes more about translating a book or we translated the Tirukural into Korean for the Tamil Nadu government. Jayalalitha madam died before she could release that, but we did that, and it's beautiful because then you kind of realize that a lot of languages have a lot of things in common, and then it gives you propels you into a very philosophical space that we are all one sort of a thing. So it's interesting that Latvian and Lithuanian have a lot of similarities with our cultural practices, with our fire sacrifice na bali solala homo, worship of nature, and they talk about how their cultural thing was slowly taken over by Western influences. For them also it's Western. I mean, it's not the same. So it's kind of beautiful how in Korean you say amma and appa also for father and mother. So many things that very very similar, and there is like a common scheme that kind of threads through Asian cultures and Southeast Asian cultures, which is also clear when you read your Ramayanas and everything in various versions in Thai and Indonesian. This entire belt, Sri Lanka. So it's pretty interesting that way, and then I guess it makes you look into the anthropological aspects of it. But and then you'll get sucked into that rabbit hole. So you need to still stay on top and
put the book out.
Yeah. So it's nice. It's been a beautiful experience. Interestingly, also Vasudha auntie got me to start that company as Blue Elephant because she just saw me doing it for. And she said, "Enna pandra? Nee vandha the company start pannalama." I said, "What company? What entrepreneur?" All of this only she taught me. So yeah, she's been quite a force in my life for a lot of reasons.
2 more questions
Go ahead.
from the audience, but I think it's nice to ask those questions.
Sure.
One is the default fallback question. Anytime you meet a woman who's doing more than one thing,
Yeah,
how do you manage to do all this? How do you juggle? How do you balance life and career and work and everything? And I mean, from my side, I just want to. I would be nice if you could talk about each woman does the balancing in a different way. I say woman because we are women here, but each person does the balancing act in their own way, right? And the way we compartmentalize and box and prioritize is very different. And it's always interesting to hear how other people do it. So that, and then this is actually a very sweet question. What did what did it feel like to hear your voice in a theatre space on screen for the first time? I think it's very
it was beautiful. Listening to Untitled Chapter on screen, and it was I can't describe it in words.
That was a gorgeous, gorgeous song, by the way.
I really can't describe it. It was beautiful. I actually can't describe. That's all there is. I think words. This is where I think those lyrics come into play. Or जो भी मैं बोलना चाहूँ, क्या है? What is that line? बर्बाद करे अल्फाज मेरे. So whatever I want to say, my words ruin it for me. So that's poetry. Who wrote it? Irshad Kamil. So that came in, I think, Rockstar. So so that's what it is. And then how do I balance it? I have a fantastic mother-in-law and a father-in-law. That is why I'm able to continue to balance what I do. My mother-in-law is not saying இன்னைக்கு இந்த விரதம் இருக்கு, நாளைக்கு அங்க இது இருக்கு, நீங்க வா, அங்க மடிசார கட்டிட்டு இங்க வா. My mother-in-law says நீ வந்து விளக்கத்துலனா கூட பரவாயில்ல. As long as you're a pure human being, it's okay, just work towards it and no. And half of the time she manages the relatives and she says அவ இல்ல ஊர்ல இல்லன்றவா. ஊர்ல இருந்தாலும் ஊர்ல இல்லன்றவா. So my mother-in-law is
Really family like that.
Yeah, I mean, and if an artist has to continue to do this, it's clearly, and my father-in-law is also the same. Thankfully, he's not so patriarchal when it came to me. So, so he also keeps.
Everybody grows up, right? As
Yeah.
as their children grow up.
Their children grow up. Wow. Thankfully, my mother-in-law couldn't reap the benefits of it. But now she's seeing it.
But she must have set the ground for it.
இல்லையா ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்டாயா.
But
that's why. So my mother is the type like நான் பட்ட கஷ்டம் வந்து என் மாட்டு பொண்ணு படக்கூடாது. So she gives me way so much freedom. I'm like அப்பா மாசத்துக்கு ஒரு தடவை நான் எங்க இருக்கேன்னு கேளுங்களேன்னு கேட்கலாம் மாதிரி இருக்கும்.
that's lovely.
Yeah.
I mean that's how it should be, right? Trust within human beings, in a family space, and this whole. And I also find it a bit unfair that this work-life balance question is never asked to the men.
Yeah. So I remember this. I didn't intend to. Eavesdrop because this man was really loud. I was having dinner one day. I think so. One of those days, in the Gilli biryani at Taj Coromandel is beautiful. So one of those days, I felt like having it, and I went with my friends. So here is this man, probably a chartered accountant, giving one full advice to all other younger men in their 20s, late 20s, early 30s. I have never seen my daughter. I have never seen her grow up. I don't know what she is doing now. If you want to become successful in life, you should not care about your family. This is advice, and there are men who are listening to that and taking notes from that.
It's a matter of great pride.
நான் வந்து என் பொண்ணு என்ன பண்றான்னு எனக்கு தெரியாது. I said நீ எல்லாம் எதுக்கு நீ கல்யாணம் பண்ணிட்டே எதுக்கு பொண்ணு பெத்த நீ? I was this close. I said okay, let me just வேண்டாம் இது வந்து இங்கெல்லாம் வந்து அவரோட எல்லாம் சண்டை போட வேண்டாம் சொல்லிட்டு I just got up and said hi sir, what is your name? You look familiar. I said, what do you do? And unfortunately, I went like 1 year apart. Both times I saw this man having this long conversation. I said, but yeah, I remember seeing this man, and there are these, I just saw this thing that, they constantly make this content and jokes about how women behave around rich men.
Oh.
But have you seen how men behave around rich men?
Yeah.
Have you seen how they pander around them? Have you seen how they flock around them? Because they are the ones that these men also want to be, right? So they make it so sexist. Women only want money. I said men don't want money. So these are things, right? You open your mind to how things are and how they want to constantly demonize one gender while they let the other gender flow. அதெல்லாம் ஆம்பளை அப்படிதான் இருக்கணும். பொம்மனாட்டினா இப்படிதான் இருக்கணும்.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys.
It starts when they are. I'm mother to a 4-year-old boy.
Absolutely.
And it starts at birth.
Yes, it does.
And it's like half the job of parenting is to constantly keep your home a safe, gender sensitized space.
Yeah.
And that's like and to make choices which will put your child in similar spaces and not till they're old enough to go into an insensitive space and know what is right and what is not okay. So yeah. And I'm so sorry that your biryani eating experience has had to be ruined by this.
No. Thankfully, they made a great one, so I still enjoyed it.
Made up for it.
Yeah, made up for it.
Good.
It was so freaking loud. Everybody heard him. Everybody in that that restaurant heard him about his great yarn on how men should be.
Wow.
But yeah. This is what, I think their heroes or their mentors behave like this, and they think this is how they are supposed to be, and they are not man enough, right?
It's not easy growing up.
Yeah, it's not easy for men as
Yeah.
well, because men aren't supposed to cry, men are not supposed to be emotional, men are not supposed to be weak, they are not supposed to have problems. This is the construct of the same society which tortures the women. It tortures the men too. It's not as if it's like a safe space for either. The fact that men are not open enough, they don't have a platform that is safe enough to actually come and say, even young boys to come and say that they were molested by somebody. Girls, probably you'll go and find a friend or an aunt or a chitti or a teacher or somebody that you might trust saying in the uncle and mari pantar. Boys have no space. I mean, the number of stories that I've heard from boys is now outnumbering the girl stories these days. And when I say that go and speak to your kids, people don't want to do it. In 1 year, there is this Red Elephant Foundation, Kirti Jayakumar runs it. The number of colleges and schools that have called me as a chief guest, and I say, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to give me even like, your so-called memento and pay some 400 rupees on one piece of glass I'm going to throw. I said, please, instead of, give me a barter. Arrange this course in your school or college. The number of schools in Mylapore and Tinagar said, don't give our kids these ideas. Well, they all have,
but they still wanted to come and speak.
Yeah, and then I have actually not gone to these colleges and schools because these people said
they didn't want to effect a change. Why would they ask you to come and address that?
They want me only as a singer, not for this, right? So some of these schools actually have these teachers who will வேஷ்டியை மடிச்சு கட்டுறேன் இந்த மாதிரி சில்ட்ரன் ஃபிளாஷ் பண்றது. இது வந்து வருஷம் இல்ல அவருக்கு வந்து இன்னும் 2 வருஷத்துல ரிட்டையர் ஆயிடுவார். இன்னும் 2 வருஷம் you are going to subject your kids to that. No. அவரோட ஃபேமிலி, அவரோட பொண்ணு, அவரோட குழந்தை.
What about the children who are
Nobody cares.
Traumatized.
Nobody cares. Year after year this goes, and I've been literally being stonewalled for the past year, trying to talk to these schools in Mylapore and Tinagar saying, please get this done. Oh, you are giving our kids ideas. Your kids already have ideas from the internet. Make sure that it's channeled from the right place, right? நான் வந்து பார்க்க மாட்டேன்னா குதிரைக்கு கடிவாளம் போடுற மாதிரி போயிட்டே இருக்குது அவ்வளவுதான்.
Shall we open floor to the audience? Questions, conversations, anything?
Hi. Where is your issue with dubbing union right now?
I still have an interim injunction, so there are people thankfully who are willing to defy Radha Ravi and still work with me. But you know how Radha Ravi is. He's a motor mouth, so he will be like that. And I don't mind. Adu mattum illa avaroda kuda it's sad how many people believe that they can be controlled and their lives will be controlled by Radha Ravi, and then hence they don't have a voice even though they do. It is very sad, and it is what I do continue to question is that how is it that a man like Radha Ravi continues to be the head of the dubbing union and everybody just watches because on the union ko and the younger union ko we cannot interfere in the workings of the other union. So you will continue to have this. So which is why I say when actors become politicians and you say you want to clean up society and you will not clean up your own industry, how the hell am I supposed to trust you as a voter? And this hurts people. And all the fans come after me and say, I don't care though. So I do it for those 2 people, not for the 98 others who yell.
So there are people who are defying Radha Ravi and calling you for work.
Yes.
And there is no action done by Radha Ravi on them.
He does. What he does is that he makes sure that Chinmayi கூப்பிட்டீங்கன்னா நாங்க மத்த ஆர்டிஸ்ட் எல்லாம் வந்து பேச மாட்டோம். இந்த மாதிரி he'll do. அது பண்ணிட்டு தான் இருப்பாரு அவரு. That's not going to change. There are still people who call madam dubbing பண்ணோம். இப்போ வந்து உங்களுக்கு dubbing என்னோட பிரச்சனை எப்படி போயிடுதுன்னா என்கிட்ட ஸ்டே இருக்கு சார், லீகலி என்னால பேச முடியாது. It also is true that I get calls, but in the past year I have not dubbed in Tamil. That's also true.
But the process is the check actually goes to the dubbing union and they take a cut and only then they give you the rest, right?
Yeah.
So how does that process work?
I put a stop to that a while ago because I said உங்களோட கணக்கும் சரியில்லை வழக்கம் சரியில்லை 10% கட் பண்ணதுக்கு நீங்க ரெசீட் கொடுக்க மாட்டேங்கிறீங்க. இது வந்து என்னோட ஆடிட்டர் சொல்லி I had to say that I became a service tax assessee and then a GST assessee. I said this can no longer work because you're not letting me raise invoices in your name. You don't have a GST number. Trade unionல இருந்து then இப்படிதான் வருதுன்னா என்னால வந்து I need to keep my books in order, so this is not going to work. So I have been actually paying 10% from my bank account back into the union. So it has been working for the past 2-3 years like that. And they were they made sure that nobody else knew about it because this would mean that other artists would ask that அவளுக்கு மட்டும் காசு கொடுக்குறீங்க டைரக்டா எனக்கு மட்டும் கொடுக்க மாட்டேங்கிறீங்க types. And the rebellion will have to happen. Everybody will have to find their own voice. Then if there's one thing that I've realized, you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. And that was very difficult for me. When you see people going through, I don't know whether it is domestic abuse or sexual abuse or something in their own family, and then they say, "Ama, kaiyala thana adikran," அப்படினா என்ன பண்ண முடியும்? This is actual stuff. When I hear girls in Hyderabad or in Vijayawada saying, "Chestone kottadu kada," சரி கையால தான் அடிச்சானா, என்ன பேசுற நீ, அது చాలా நார்மல் அண்டி, பட் அதர்வைஸ் he loves me. So the amount of normalization that girls do, சும்மா அடிச்சாங்க பரவாயில்ல, but they love me. My parents hit me, but they love me.
What else is? It's only verbal. He only yells at me. He's never laid a hand on me.
அதெல்லாம்
Because verbal abuse doesn't count.
20-30 years to even impress upon people that verbal abuse is also abuse, that you are supposed to have like a normal conversation. Yes, we all have a temper and we yell. I'm not saying, of course I also yell, but what you end up saying at that point is, எடுத்தோடனே prostitute தான். It's the same words in Telugu or in Tamil or stuff, and I use those words very very normally. ஈஸியா சொல்லிட்டு போயிடுவாங்க, என்ன இப்போ you called me a slut and I'm supposed to feel ashamed about it? Why? I don't care. So why is it that, why is slut is equal to shaming? And I ask those questions in general as well, that why is it that suddenly for family women the prostitute is somebody who's a problem and the family women are safe? So I said kudumba kuttu valakku prostitute. I'm like, I mean, the prostitutes are probably the ones who are cleaning up keeping your home safe and taking all the violence from the general society. So they're probably the ones who are supposed to be deified more than the gods that we deify. So I said, I'm happy to be called a prostitute. Go ahead, call me a prostitute and I don't have a problem. So that there has to be a day that, a woman no longer needs to feel when she's raped, it's her shame. We hold our honor in our vaginas. Are you a virgin?
Not just yours, that of your entire family and your entire community.
Entire community, kulam, கோத்திரம், ஜாதியோட மானமே வெஜைனால தான் இருக்கு, இல்லைன்னா எல்லாமே நாசமா போயிடும். Yeah, that's what it is. Of course, go ahead.
I think
yeah, we can hear.
So through this whole journey of this little big bad world that we've been listening about in the past, I'm saying that this big bad world that we've been listening about this morning, is there one voice, is there one sound, or at least the essence of one sound that keeps the inner self safe? Okay.
Despite all of this, my inner self is very safe.
Yeah, I know, because you spoke that nothing affects the art. So there is something which is constant, which is, and even so, I mean, in the sense that the way the conversation is going, it's like no one should have children anymore. But we have no. One second. So I am saying that when you have children, and how are you going to, because you can't change the world, it'll slowly change, hopefully. But what are you going to tell them to find that, which you probably see in your singing? Okay, so I'm asking, is there any one constant sound? Like I know my sound. What's yours? What does it tell you? What is it that sustains?
At some level, I guess, which is why when music is enmeshed with spirituality and your quest with God, right? I guess that's somehow been constant, and my God is somehow formless. And I can put any form, I can give any form if I want, or it can just be in my notes, and I'm okay with that. And when it's there, it's there. Which is why when music is going on, I can't concentrate on anything else. I don't listen to music in the car. It's very difficult. It's very distracting for me, because my focus will go completely into the music and not on the road and the driving and everything. So I don't listen. My car is silent. If I have to concentrate on anything else, music can't play. So for me, at least, I understand one thing though. A lot of your lived experience or what you feel inside cannot be taught. And if I become a parent, I do know that there is a certain autonomy that other human being, the human being has come through me, yes, but they are their own person. Perhaps they can also teach me something in the way they go. It's not as if just because they will be my kids or kid or whatever, how many numbers they might be, I don't own them. And that ownership is, it's not as if na solradha vali vera solradala vali illa. These are things that I have seen in my life and I don't want to be that. So when you go through abuse, there are two ways of doing that. You either start mimicking your oppressor, or you decide not to be the oppressor. Just like the mother-in-law who says, "Ye maamiyar enna ipdi kodummapadthina adanaala na unna ipdi kodummapaduthuven, illana ye maamiyar enna ipdi kodummapadthina adanaala na unna kodummapadtha maaten." So which which point are you going to take as an adult who has your entire, your entire thankfully, there is one thing that I'm glad, I was just having this conversation with my husband yesterday that, everything is fine. My mental health seems normal. And you know how much of it is a huge advantage if your mental capacities are in order today. And within the sanctity of this room, I see what happened to Suchitra. Suchi Leaks. She had a meltdown, and I don't know, it's unfortunate. And I saw some news about her yesterday, and I was like, I was one of the people that she shamed. She said, yeah, Chinmayi, your nude video is coming, and I'm still shamed for Suchi Leaks. People don't understand what that is, and unfortunately what she did also demonizes other people with mental health, saying mental health na avungalukku seriyalana ivanga ipdi behave பண்ணுவாங்க இல்ல. So that is a different conversation altogether, but today the fact that as of today I'm seemingly normal, I count my blessings, and whatever I hope that whatever it is in the divine ether will guide me to raise my child/children in a right way. I mean, I have 4 dogs at home. They can be my pets, but I don't own them. They are their own individuals. There is discipline, of course, but it's not as if நான் சொல்றதுதான் வழி இல்லைனா வேற வழியே இல்லைனா. I'm sure they'll have their own path. The point is to hold their hands as long as they want to, and then let them go whenever they want to.
I have one more story. Vasudha, it's for you. Since you mentioned Vasudha so many times, and Vasudha is an inspiration and anchor for many people, me included. So therefore, I want Vasudha only to say something about my own question to Chinmayi, in whatever way you can answer it, because you seem to have been part of her inner journey, outer journey. So, you want to say something? I want to hear.
It's very sweet of Chinmayi to include me in her life. Although, according to me, I've done very little for you, but it's good because you're a very intelligent child. You absorb everything, the good things from everywhere, and that's why everybody will be able to impact you in so many ways. And Pratibha's question is, what is your inner voice? Is that her inner voice? I think she's always been, I don't know, it's a cliched word, but an old soul. She knew everything. And I think when I saw Chinmayi as a young child, I felt she was gifted in multiple ways. Whatever she touched, it would just blossom. She touched, suppose translation, just so removed from her artistic temperament, she touched that would blossom. She would touch something and that would blossom. So going forward, I really feel her music is one very, very big aspect of her. But the bigger aspect is that she is trying to impact women's lives positively. So actually I can convert this into a question. What are your dreams in activism and as
I messaged you about it yesterday. So I am exploring, however, to see if I believe there is an NGO which helps women file cases of domestic violence and abuse, PCVC, something like that. So I get dozens of messages on a daily basis saying my uncle harassed me, my grandfather molested me, I got raped by my brother, and a lot of these people are within their family setups not knowing what to do from there. A lot of them are not educated, or their families don't let them, and these are mostly in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, not so much in Chennai. And I wanted to see if there can be an NGO that can help women, who let them know that these are your options, and this is how you can probably file a case against your employer. And perhaps if they have an NGO backing them, perhaps they wouldn't be as scared, because the number of messages I get, if those were the number of sexual harassment cases in workplaces that were reported, I think our numbers would be through the roof. The problem is none of these cases that are generally whispers still, or nowadays thankfully they are not whispers anymore. People are talking about it around tables. They are not reported, and people think there are only 100, 200 cases that were reported, so there is not much sexual harassment. That's not true. Sexual harassment exists, but it's not reported. So I want to see if there's something that we can do to encourage more women to come out and report and give them the options that is available, because most of them are not aware. They are not aware of the posh setup. They don't know that they can demand for an ICC and demand that all employees go through that in their workplaces. That's why, and we see if we can file public interest litigations, because as an individual I can't do that. An NGO helps. So still a lot of companies don't have ICCs in place. I've been pondering whether I can file a public interest litigation on all channels. They're supposed to have an ICC in place, and they're supposed to have a POXO unit, because a lot of these children are there on sets. And then they'll say, I'm a contractor, even contractor, Sapaduku or contractor, driver or contractor, production house or contractor, the channel owns nothing, the shooting floor belongs to somebody else. So what will happen if a child or an adult is misbehaved within a place like this for a channel? Who's responsible? It's a question that nobody seems to have an answer for. Channel or a prachana, because all of these people are there for the channel. Because it happened at a shooting floor which has nothing to do with the channel, is it the shooting floor's problem? Is it the production house because they are the ones who are the bosses of that space? Or is it an individual problem because individual did that and another individual adinalaya? Then what happens if it is a child, and then the power, of power structure of it all? Somebody who is seemingly in power and somebody who is seemingly not in power, right? So these are nuances that I still don't have answers for, and how to go about filing these cases. Now, one year no ICC
But you have the knack of taking on big challenges and choosing large destiny always. That's there. And to come back to Pratibha's question, I think Chinmayi has got a very strong spirit and a very defined spirit. So no matter what goes on around her, she connects back to that spirit, which is maybe her secret.
I think another thing that we are lacking at the moment is the legalities are very important, having structures in place, but also more transitionary conversations which normalize talking about abuse or harassment for women, to say it's okay to come out and speak. Because, there's all the context, the conditioning, the taboos and repercussions.
Yeah.
That, if you come out and speak, there will be 10 women standing behind you. Right now, I think it's hard for women to trust that if they come out and speak, anybody will stand behind them.
Because I think it's also women's problem. Women slut shame other women.
Absolutely.
We need to stop doing that, so that the reason why I got the guts to speak up about Vairamuthu is because I felt as if suddenly I have the power of sisterhood behind me. There were other women who were saying, in solidarity, I'm standing with you, I believe you. How many of us actually tell a girl, நீ என்ன dress போட்டுன்னு போன, நீ அடுத்த வாட்டில இருந்து இப்படி எல்லாம் மினிக்கிட்டு போகாதே, எவ்வளோ ஈஸியா சொல்லுவா. எப்படி மினிக்கிட்டு போனாலும் மினுக்காம போனாலும் அவன் உன்னை அப்படி பாக்குறதோ பேசுறதோ தொடர்றதோ அவனோட தப்புங்கிறது. I don't know why we started shaming the victim instead of the criminal. வீட்டுல திருடிட்டு போனா திருட பிரச்சனை, காரை இடிச்சா எவன் இடிச்சானோ அது பிரச்சனை, ஆனா பொண்ணை மட்டும் தப்பா தொட்டா அது பொண்ணோட பிரச்சனை. எப்படி ஆச்சு? How did this even happen? It makes no sense. This is the only crime perhaps where the victim is shamed and not the criminal. ஜாலியா அவங்க அவார்ட் ஃபங்க்ஷன்ஸ் என்ன அவார்டு கொடுக்கறதுன்னா வாங்குறதுன்னா எல்லாம் போயிட்டு இருக்கும். And this is extrapolating. In your own home, there are children who go and say, my mama did this to me, to the mother, which is the mother's brother, right? She said, எல்லாம் வாங்கி முடிக்கும், நீ தான் பண்ணிருக்க. What the heck? And why? And if you actually look into the social the context of it, sadly the woman would have no financial stability or financial independence to actually step out of that place and do something for her own, on her own. அந்த குடும்பத்தை விட்டு அவளுக்கு வேற வழி இருக்காது. So என்ன பண்றது? In that space, how does a woman continue to believe that and validate the child's experience and to continue to keep the child safe? And then the child feels, or the individual for that matter, feels let down each time that relative comes to a family function. Why is he still invited in the kovam of being let down by the family? It starts at home. For a lot of us, it starts at home. And we don't want to talk about it because great Indian family culture. Yeah.
There's a lot of things I would like to talk about, but I want to restrict it for the possible time. What I would like to say is that you're in a very subjective field, right? The people change, their tastes change, So you have to constantly innovate. See, for example, anybody who rises to the top, forget your own art field, be it Dhirubhai Ambani, be it Narendra Modi, the kind of abuses he goes through for having made all the sacrifices, you find that it's very unjust, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that it's a part and parcel of maneuvering through. I'm not talking about the sexual abuse part of it. What I'm saying is that how do you sustain, what is your plan to sustain to be an artist in the reckon? Because, as you go forward, you're going to have a lot of competition. As I told you before, 20 வருஷம் முன்னாடி எனக்கு வந்து விஸ்வநாத் ராமமூர்த்தி மியூசிக் ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும், அதுக்கப்புறம் இளையராஜா மியூசிக் பிடிக்கும். A.R. Rahman came about. Now there are so many A.R. Rahmans. Okay, it's not as if so Vidyasagar music பிடிக்கிறது. So what I'm trying to say is that taste change. People in குத்து பாட்டுங்கிறாங்க, அதுக்கு வந்து ஒரு லிரிக்ஸே இல்லாமல் இஷ்டத்துக்கு என்ன வேணால் பாடுறாங்க. Okay, so how are you? What is your kind of matrices? How do you define that to stay in the in the public eye?
I don't do anything to stay in the public eye. That is not my goal. I do what I need to do. What I need to do as an artist. My journey has always been to grow as an artist, to find excellence. I'm still not there. And for me, whatever happens in addition or whatever happens on the side is on the side. If my ultimate goal is to say I need to do something to be in the reckoning, I'm never going to be there. I will do what I need to do as a person, as an artist, as a human being. Fame vandadana vandadu, reckoning vandadana vandadu, varalana paravalla. I don't really care. That's why. Which is probably why I even named that, Vairamuthu molested me. Because I don't care. All of this fame, this people, ரொம்ப வந்து பச்சையா சொல்லனா இன்னைக்கு செத்தா நாளைக்கு பால், அவ்வளவுதான். என்ன நான் பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா, எங்க பாட்டி இப்ப பாரு சொல்லுவா பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா அப்படின்னு. As a child I thought பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா is a word for morning. It took me until 23 or 24 when I saw a colleague say, எனக்கு வந்து பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா வந்து காஃபி கிடந்தா ஏதாவது சொல்லுவா. ஸோ பொழைச்சு கிடந்தான்னா வந்து கார்த்தால போல இருக்கு அப்படின்னு நான் நினைச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன். When I was 24 and somebody said பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா, that is when it was like epiphany, that word hit me. பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா இதை பண்ணலாம். Because that is part of our conversation every day. பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா இதை பண்ணலாம், பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா நான் வந்து போறேன், பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா அவ்வளவுதான், பொழைச்சு கிடந்தா என்னத்த reckoning. Everything is like one natural disaster away. And just stay humble that in this entire scheme of things in earth and universe, not even one dot, nobody can even see you with a microscope. I'm as I don't know, immaterial as that. Very, very, very insignificant person. That's all.
Yeah, just have a comment. I like your comment on my takeaway. I'm just thinking from what you said. Do we need women to be? We need more women in a position of power, be it as producers, as directors, as writers, or whatever, so that we could also enlarge our own universe. Why is the other gender the reference point in our lives? Why not us at the center?
I would actually say that it's now that women are looking at coming to the front, we are also the ones who are saying, why just two genders? Why not all genders? We are looking at non-binary identities. We are looking at people who don't identify as men, who don't identify as women, who are still figuring out how they want to identify themselves. So I think which is why I think Paulo Freire's the pedagogy of the oppressed makes great sense. It's end of the day, it's the duty of the oppressed to uplift both the oppressor and the oppressed from the dehumanized state. So I think right now we should have more women in power. We should have more trans people in power. We should have more because all of this will make this a more equitable space. Because the tools that is needed for you and me as privileged upper caste women to come up in life is not the same tool that we hand to a Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi woman. Because I am able to come to a Sarangi store and brush my shoulders with all of you who have all done really well in life. versus a Dalit Bahujan Adivasi woman who does not have the same tools, same access. She does not have a Vasudha auntie. I did. And for all of us to understand is to understand our own privilege, to be very in touch with our own privilege, and to say that, one size does not fit all in everything, which is why more than an equal society, we are looking at an equitable society, where different tools are handed out to different people based on what they need to become better, or however they want to become better. You don't decide for them, saying this is how you should be to become better, so this is my better for you. No, let them decide what their better is, no? This 1 year has taught me a lot, because Me Too was looked as this Savarna feminist movement where Dalit Bahujan Adivasi women did not have a representation at all. And even if they said, all the other voices said, we are talking now, you don't talk. So what is that woman who does not like the other? This is the question. So if I have a problem of sexual harassment at my workplace, I can say, Vairamutu molested me and went. What if your house person, your person who's coming to your house, who cleans your house, is molested by somebody in your house? That is her workplace, no? So how? What is your ICC? These are questions that we need to question ourselves, identify our own privileges, and see how can we be less assholes. I'm so sorry.
And that there is no single feminist narrative, like Caucasian feminist or an Asian feminist, and then within that you have the whole Suvarna feminist narrative, and you can't appropriate voices and say I'm being feminist. That's not feminism.
Absolutely. And then when somebody else is speaking, then you don't hold on to the mic. You pass the mic, which is why they say pass the mic. Don't hold on to it. You don't have to be their voice. They have a voice.
Yeah.
Just that you don't want to hear them. They're not silenced. They're just not being heard. They're speaking. They have been speaking for years. But are you going to listen to them? And are you going to say, this is the oppressor tactic to speak, that we are the ones who are, it's just like the white supremacist thing, suffering, and not the African Americans, while they're actually being shot for just being African American. So that's the nuance there. That's actually not even nuance, it's right there in the face.
No, this is nothing nuanced about it.
No. So, as I hear you and know you, I feel you take on the pain of the world. Like, you pay, no, we all do to some extent. But your idealism does play a very big role, and then therefore what happens is it pains you to see the world in pain. But I suppose that you have to select a few things that really pain you, because everything is painful. I drive across and I see people dirtying the streets, and that pains me, and I want to take the flight and use my option of going back. So everything pains you. So I think the process of life is to insulate ourselves from a lot of pain and select one or two pains and convert it into action. Okay, so otherwise we will live in pain, even though we are privileged. We are like the top percentile. And we don't have to be in pain if we turn a blind eye to everything, but we choose to be in pain. You choose to be in pain. You have to be basking in your celebrity hood. You have to be basking in your art and your giftedness, but do you choose to do that? No, you are in constant pain. So suppose you have to choose one pain only in life, okay, and one segment of society only as pain. Which segment? Now, Dalit and you can't choose all the Indias. So there is the top India, second India, third India, fourth India, fifth India. There are many Indias. If you have to choose one India as your proactive, as a forum of your proactiveness, which India would that be?
So this is something that I learned from other Dalit Bahujan feminists. I learn on a daily basis. I follow their accounts on Twitter and Instagram. Some of their comments might hurt me, but I go through that because it is their voice, it is their opinion. I have no right to say or invalidate her experience. So as an upper caste Brahmin, trying to do my best to make things better, I am going to question privilege in my circle, and that's what I will continue to do. I am not going to go and speak for DBA women because they have their voices, and at that point what I will do is go and you know,
Give them the mic.
Sweep the stage and raise the curtains so that they will be center stage, and while I'll go and make sure that their seats are great. That's what I will do then. And for me, I will question upper caste privilege. I will question all of these things that we do. I will question the Carnatic music space. I will question the space in the film industry, because these are the small micro spaces that I am in, and I will work in these areas to make these places better. I know that I'm limited by my own capacities to how much I can spread myself. So I'll work here, I'll question privilege here, I'll demand action here. And then while other peoples, all of them are demanding their own thing, I'll make sure that their voices are amplified. This is what I believe I should do.
And I think adding to what Chinmayi just said, as a woman, as a woman who's also raising a child and being in this space and coming from a point of massive privilege, again privilege of caste, privilege of education and everything, it's very easy for me to sit here, or us to sit here and talk feminism, but choosing to not engage in what is happening outside, the multiple layers of pain and privilege, I don't think that is even an option anymore. And I think if we want to talk about, what are we raising children into, what are we bringing children into this world, I think this level of, questioning privilege has to happen. I don't think we can insulate ourselves from that. We don't have we can't afford to insulate ourselves from this story, because these are all around us and this is the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
So I think...
But you have to be focused, otherwise it will all be in a blur.
Yes, but it's a continuing process, right? And it all sort of ties into each other.
Yes.
So I think it's a bit difficult to isolate.
You are just ask. I can hear you, I'm sure.
It's the
It's a
recording.
recording.
Oh.
Hello ma'am.
Hi.
It's not about the question, but I just have to share it. 1 year முன்னாடி நீங்க மூவ்மெண்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது நான் எங்க அம்மா கிட்டயும் அப்பா கிட்டயும் இதை பத்தி பேசும்போது எப்படி இவங்க இதை பத்தி வெளியில சொன்னாங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்டாங்க. பட் ஜஸ்ட் 1 month முன்னாடி ஸ்டில் சின்மய் இஸ் டூயிங் இட் அப்படின்னு சொல்லும்போது அப்பதான் அவங்களோட எங்க ஃபேமிலிக்குள்ள இருக்கிற ஒருத்தர் தெருவோர கடையில் இருக்கிற ஒரு மாமா வந்து தடவினாரு, க்ரோ பண்ணாரு அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்க. அப்பதான் இங்க இப்ப அடிக்கிட்டு போறேன், இப்ப இதெல்லாம் தினம் சொல்றேன்னா எங்க ஃபேமிலியில இருக்கிற பசங்க சிரிச்சு பேசியிருக்க மாட்டேங்க அப்படின்லாம் கேட்டேன். பட் அவங்க அதான் சொல்றாங்க, இதை சொன்னா நமக்கு தானே ஒரு மாதிரி இருக்கும், நம்மள தானே எல்லாரும் இப்படி பண்ணுவாங்க அப்படி பண்ணுவாங்க அப்படின்னாங்க. அவங்களுக்கு எப்படி இருக்கும், இதை பத்தி நீ யாரை வந்து இதுவா சொல்றீங்களோ அவங்க தானே இதை பத்தி வெக்க பண்ணுவோம் அப்படின்லாம் சொன்னேன். அப்பதான் அவங்களுக்கு ஆக்சுவலா புரிஞ்சிச்சு. ஸோ ஒன் இயரா இந்த ஒன்னே உங்களை பத்தி மூவ்மெண்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது 1 year முன்னாடி சொன்னப்பவே அவங்க யாருமே புரிஞ்சுக்கல என்ன இது எப்படி சொன்னாங்க அப்படிதான் நினைக்கிறாங்க. ஸோ நீங்க ஒன் இயரா இந்த மூவ்மெண்ட்டுக்காக ரொம்ப போராடுறீங்க. ஸோ நிறைய பேர் ஃபெமினிசம் ஒழியணும் அப்படின்னு யாகம் பண்ணாங்கன்னா நான் கண்டிப்பா உங்களை மாதிரி பெண்கள் ஜெயிக்கணும்னு யாகம் பண்ணுவேன்.
ஆனா அந்த ஃபெமினிசம் ஒழிக வந்து எல்லா லாங்குவேஜ்லயும் கேட்டுட்டு இருக்கேன் நான், தெலுங்கு, தமிழ் எல்லாத்தையும்.
இன்னி வரைக்கும் வைரமுத்து வந்து இஸ் ஒர்க்கிங் வித் ஆல் தி டாப் ஆர்டிஸ்ட் இன் தமிழ், A.R. Rahman, Maniratman, Kamalhaasan. What do you feel? What's your take on?
So இந்த பொன்னியின் செல்வன் இது வந்து ரொம்ப நாளா கேட்டுட்டு தான் இருக்காங்க. See, what happens is that இப்போ one of the things that one of my friends in the industry said is that for decades, okay, men have gotten away with it. அது பண்ணலாம் dude, this is the locker room talk, இல்லையா? இது வந்து பண்ணலாம், ஓகே, இதுல எல்லாம் அந்த தப்பே இல்லை அப்படிங்கறதுல இருந்து திடீர்னு வந்து பெண்கள் எழுந்து ஐயோ இந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் பண்றதெல்லாம் கரெக்ட் இல்லை அப்படின்னா அவங்களுக்கே இதுல நிறைய பேர் கன்ஃபியூஸ்டா இருந்தாங்க. ஐயோ என்னது இது, இப்போ எது கரெக்ட் எது தப்புன்னு பாதி பேருக்கு தெரியல. இதுல கொஞ்சம் அவேரா செல்ஃப் அவேரா இருக்கிற பசங்க நிறைய பேர் வந்து they actually have conversations with girls and say இது ஓகேவா, இது ஓகே இல்லையா. ஏன்னா சாதாரணமா வந்து ஒரு பார்னோகிராஃபியை வந்து ஒரு ஆஃபீஸ், என்னோட ஃப்ரெண்டு ஆட் இண்டஸ்ட்ரியில இருந்த ஒரு ஃப்ரெண்டு, she worked with a really big ad agency in Bombay. She said her colleague used to watch porn sitting right next to her, and she had normalized it because she thought this is only normal, no? To actually come and say this is no longer okay, just like the woman who will say the purusha adikkiradhu normal, lendi ipo purusha adikkiradhu normal illa nu solradhukku time aachu illaya. குழந்தைய வந்து 5 வயசுல கல்யாணம் பண்ணிக்கிறது கொடுக்கறது நார்மல். ஆனா 5 வயசு குழந்தையும் 7 வயசு குழந்தையும் 50 வயசு 60 வயசு மனுஷனுக்கு கல்யாணம் பண்ணி கொடுக்கறது நார்மல் சொசைட்டில இருந்து, புருஷன் செத்து போனா அவளை வந்து சத்தின்னு வந்து எரிக்கிறது நார்மல்ல இருந்து மாத்துறதுக்கு எத்தனை? So it will take time. So coming back to that, I would actually more than see the nuance here is that the same way that I would perhaps feel towards Rahman sir, that he introduced me into the industry. Similarly, Mani sir introduced Rahman sir into the industry, right? Their friendship and their equation goes back 30, 35 years, I don't know how long, okay? So how many other years? Okay, let's look at it that way. Now, if somebody who you have looked upon as a mentor, friend, best friend, confidant comes and says, "Hey, please Ra, let's get this done." Are you going to sit and argue that, okay, Vairamuthu, abdi neenga pannuveengala? Illa vandu, are you going to say that, sari, okay, sari, odiyatom, sort of a thing, right? Because I know, because Rahman sir is enak therinja the first music director in Chennai who set up an ICC in the studio. There are papers stuck on every door of the studio at AM Studio saying, we endeavor to make this place a safe space for women. It is not tolerated. So here is the email. There's an email, there's a phone number. There is a step forward. Adi ettana vandadu adala aduthudu. So I said, do you have an ICC in place? Can you make sure that this man is not going to use your opportunity? Na Ponniyin Selvan la unak paadradhukku opportunity vaangi tharen அப்படினு அடுத்து ஒரு பொண்ணு பேர்ல கை வைக்க மாட்டான்னு ஒன்னும் உங்களால சொல்ல முடியுமா? So why would you continue to give him the quote? I see that I don't understand how that works. You know, on the level of power and politics la eppadi work pandradhu enakku therilla. I'm nowhere close to that. Nowhere close to that affluence, that money, that politics or the power. So on the level la avangaloda space la irundha da and serup eppadi kadikumnu enakku theriyuma. I'm not absolving them of that. If the same thing somebody else had done, I would ask them also, because I remember so many in the DMK la வந்து சில ஆபீஸ் பேரர்ஸ் எல்லாம் அசிங்கமா என்ன திட்டுறது, நீ வந்து இந்த மாதிரி தமிழ் எங்களோட பெரிய ஆளை வந்து நீ திட்டிட்ட அப்படிலாம் இருக்கும்போது I said, is this what you're asking me to vote for you? This was before the elections. You're saying women's safety and your officials are coming after me and saying this just because I identified them. இத்தனைக்கு வந்து வைரமுத்து வந்து ஸ்ரீராமச்சந்திரமூர்த்தி இல்ல ஊருக்கே தெரியும். மீனாட்சி காலேஜ்ல இருக்கிற ஒரு கடைசி 30 வருஷத்துல இருக்கிற கேர்ள்ஸ் கேட்டா எல்லாருக்கும் ஒரு கதை இருக்கும். அட்லீஸ்ட் 30% ஒரு கதை இருக்கும். அன்னைக்கு வந்து இது மயிலாப்பூர் டேங்க்ல வந்து ஏதோ காய்கறி வாங்க போன போது one lady said, I'm from Meenakshi College. எங்கிட்ட he's misbehaved with me. I'm so glad that you came out. We are all praying for you. I'm like, thank you. But you know, how nice would it have been? I think ஒரு street fill up ஆயிடும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். The number of women Vairamuthu may have sexually harassed, molested. I will get you an opportunity with somebody XYZ. So it is difficult. It's going to be difficult for the men also to navigate this, because அவங்களுக்கே வந்து பயங்கர கன்ஃபியூசிங்கா இருக்கு. இது என்ன பண்றதுன்னு தெரியல. So they're not. I don't believe men are trash. I don't think men are bad. I don't think that men are after women, and I don't hate men. I love men. I think so many of them are allies. And right now, as a gender that has been privileged, a lot of them in power who are actually sympathetic and empathetic to all of this have been great support. Vetrimaran has been a support. Govind Vasanta has tweeted out saying that I will work with Chinmayi no matter what. Abdina, somebody messaged him, tweeted out to him saying, "Ungalku opportunity kadikkalana enna panudhu dude?" Abdina, I can survive, thank you. Abdina. So there are men like that. Men aren't trash. Definitely not. And each time I talk about feminism and all, the people say not all men. I said, I know that not all men more than everybody else. So you must also talk about female criminals. That's when you will be a proper feminist. No, so each time I talk about a molestation or a rape, and they say, you know, your content in memes needs to change, because memes, a lot of people especially in the vernacular space, are promoting violent sex. They're promoting sexual violence. They're promoting rape, not even understanding this what they are doing. So the sonna annikku naal mulukka woman kills child. That would have actually been unfortunately a sad thing of postpartum depression. Postpartum depression la என்னன்னே தெரியாது. ஏன்னா வந்து பொண்ணு வந்து பிரெக்னென்ட் ஆனா உடனே அவளை பார்சல் பண்ணி அம்மா வீட்டுக்கு அனுப்பிச்சிடுறது. அவளும் குழந்தையும் எல்லாம் உடம்பெல்லாம் சரியாயி மென்டல் ஹெல்த் எல்லாம் ஓகே ஆனப்புறம் வீட்டுக்கு வருவா. So postpartum depression na புருஷாளுக்கு for the longest of time they have no clue. So இதெல்லாம் beginningல இருந்து ஆரம்பிக்கணும். Unfortunately, as I said, men are also patriarchy has ruined it for men as well. So can't blame them. You need to raise everybody from here. So when I see people working, I question. I said, why do you do this? Sona Mahapatra questions in Bombay, I question in Chennai, Rituparna questions in Delhi. At least there are 4 girls in 3 or 4 main metropolitan cities who question. There is so many more women also. But yeah, and the response we all get is, hey, you prostitute, you please shut up. I'm like, yeah, no problem.
It's literally the default.
Hey, prostitute. Something has to be more creative in your abuse, right? You're doing the same thing.
So our society is very movie driven.
Yeah.
We are very influenced by what we see. What part of it, the e-teasing or this lot of this love is
as talking.
Yeah, is mistaken by this all these men. I feel this Snehidi, there is in Margazhi. Even in that, Madhavan pursues that girl in a very it is not that kind of a way, and these are the role models for the society.
Right.
So what do you think about it?
So I did have a conversation with Rahul about it. So what happens is that when one film becomes successful, right? Other directors think that this is what works, and they follow that. It's very, very simple, and I don't think they were actually putting any thought as to what they were doing. They are not bad people. They are not people who are saying, okay, we'll portray women like this. No, they are not thinking most of the time.
And it's normalized also.
And it's so normalized
so much that it's...
This has been there for 50 years.
Yeah,
correct.
Standard formula. You cannot say that it came from Alepa.
No, I mean,
I'm just saying, women have accepted this. See what
it's
I'm
been
saying?
normalized.
Yeah.
So there was this very interesting question that a filmmaker friend asked me. So let's say my hero and heroine are set in a rural background. How does he ask the girl out? Teni vechukona. Teni ithanikku rural la illa, semi rural, suburban, eppadi vena vechikalam. Anga enna coffee day irka? Can he go and say, listen, I would like to get to know you. Can we date? Dating concept Chennai liye okay illa. So the only way that they think that they can evince interest on a girl is by following her. They don't know any better. They are not taught any better because they don't come from backgrounds like that. In the asking out a date, are you okay to get to know each other? Living in and then all of that is a very, very urban, upper class construct. So he said, how do I portray two rural, how do they date?
50 years back, even this dating in urban cities was not an accepted norm.
It's not accepted even now.
Okay, that's that apart. What I'm trying to tell you is that 50 years back, e-teasing was the way the hero used to court the girl.
Correct.
And she used to fall for it.
Yes,
so that becomes a norm for every person to attract a girl. He wants. I agree with her. So the movie dump has really today you talk about so much of alcoholism is being promoted through movies, right?
Yes.
So it's becoming a norm. It's driven into the psyche of the public, probably funded by the your Tasmak owners, to make sure that every hero is shown that it's pretty cool to drink. Which is pretty bad actually.
Or if the woman says no, then get drunk and then go harass her more.
Exactly. So I feel that a lot of things that you are against is in the field that you are.
Which is why I question, no? This is precisely the point.
Are you asking the right questions is my point.
Yes, I am. You can follow me on Twitter and you will see only questions on my timeline. So, at least in the recent past, say about 5 to 6 years, we have had a lot of bloggers, lot of tweeters, a lot of reviewers question that this is not okay. In the this is not okay and solradhukku the naalachu. Which is why I believe whether it is politics, whether it is figuring out whether the light in your road is going on or not, whether it is the groundwater. I mean, MLA Nataraj sir has this thing about setting up groundwater recharging pits 15 feet deep, 3 feet wide, and he's been asking the residents to come forward and sponsor. I sponsored 3 wells. I'm sponsoring 2 more, and that actually increases the groundwater level in the. இதை பத்தி நான் ரொம்ப நாளா சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கேன். நான் பண்ணிட்டேன், வேற யாரும் பண்றீங்க, யாரும் கண்டுக்கிறது இல்ல. நான் கிரவுண்ட் வாட்டர் ரீசார்ஜ் எல்லாம் பண்ண மாட்டேன், என் ரோட்ல மரத்தை வெட்டுவேன், கம்ப்ளைண்ட் பண்ணுவேன். ஐயோ தண்ணியே வரல, கவர்மெண்ட் நீங்க என்ன பண்றீங்க? So it will all come back to this. What is the public doing? A creator thinks this is what the public wants and he gives it to them. And the public will at some point will have to come up and say, listen, I don't like this. So we also as civil society will have to tell the creators, which I as a part of the industry am saying this is not okay. Sometimes as I'm saying, these people aren't bad people. They just don't know better. And if you just tell them, listen, this is not okay. Adha Murugadas வந்து ஏதோ ஒரு படத்துல வந்து unfortunately he named the female villain as Komalavalli. At that point he was not thinking. சரியா ஏதோ ஒரு பேர் கோமலவள்ளி.
Hey, that's my name.
அப்படியா?
It actually is.
So and then so many people are not thinking at that point in time how to name characters, which is why you will find like some 20,000 Kartiks and 5,000 I don't know.
Rahul and Anjali.
Rahul. You think there are no other names? Rahul and Pona Kodin are Arjun. There are like, I think an entire Indian pantheon is full of names, but they only figured out a Rahul and an Arjun. Yena avanda hero. So it is end of the day, it is about all of us to say that this is not okay. All of us are now using social media as a tool to say this is not okay, don't show us this. Idella paathitu, at least in the past 3-4 years, people are saying this is, people are changing. Mandanda,
There are more voices in filmmaking.
There are more women coming out and saying, it's okay, man. They are actually bouncing it with female ladies. Female assistant directors in the film industry make a difference. So they come and say, this is not okay. The first ever ICC in this country, was probably set up in Andhra Pradesh, in Hyderabad, in Annapurna Studios, because the producer is a woman. I am yet to see a male producer have an ICC. Why? Sexual harassment is not a man problem. Huh? What if somebody, let's say, gets falsely accused? Because sexual harassment laws also prevent false accusations. There are, statutes to protect that as well.
But there have been a lot of cases where the men have been falsely accused.
Where?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, recently it came out in a big way. The men being falsely accused. Somebody committed suicide, so many things.
So that's what she's saying. There is due process for that.
Due process on the follow panna, the men don't have to commit suicide. It's as simple as that. So men should also
workplace. See, it's all there. Okay. See, I come from a corporate background, so I have no major connect with the art. Okay, except as a lover. All I'm trying to tell you is that it's very difficult. Many a times, even I get to hear. All we can do is tell our children, tell the people that this is not correct.
So if you are from a corporate background, does your workplace have an ICC?
Yeah, it does.
So do all your employees go through sexual harassment? What is sexual harassment? Both men and women need to understand that. Go ahead.
I just want to tell you about the corporate scenario. I was appointed as chairperson for a sexual CSH, Sexual Harassment, Corporate Sexual Harassment Committee, that there was even such a thing. Okay, there's an adjustment factor for anything. Now the thing is that they set up a system where a person who wants to file a complaint has to go to the HR person, a mail, then somebody else, a mail, then the head of the company, a mail, through an entire mail chain which has to be satisfied that this complaint should be filed. And it was really quite a farce. But maybe they were at that point of time just absorbing that whether they like it or not, this particular thing is here to stay. And it will evolve in stages. They will have to accept, all of it. That's what. But this was my experience with heading.
No, I hear these because I have these meets on several Sundays. I ask women to come forward and say what happens. A lot of them have come forward to tell me that sexual harassment, posh in their workplace is a sham. ஏன்னா அவங்க வந்து அந்த HR போய் சொல்லணுமா, அந்த HR will have to actually go and file it in their quarterly or half yearly thing, and it reflects in the registrar of companies or something like that.
It's a whole process. It's a whole process.
Yeah, so that process is made
It
sure.
defeat anyone.
Yeah, it defeats everyone.
It just bear you out.
It does.
All the good is that at least there is the first glimmer of fear that all the same complaint could be filed. That's all.
But a lot of these a lot is also lost in communication. Men don't understand what is sexual harassment. What kind of things that they say very casually is actually sexual harassment.
Yeah, education needs to be on both sides.
Yeah, so and the girls also probably mistake somebody asking them out as sexual harassment. So both cases, and how do you do that? So this new rules of dating and everything, you have to make sure that all of this is educated in, and it's not like a click through. Apparently they have a form, right? And they click and they finish it. That is the so-called sexual harassment workshop. They actually never have a workshop in offices, is what I have heard.
Yes.
So they only have a form that people just click through and sign. They have not even read those points. So sexual harassment, then how?
No, it depends on the organization. It's not so
Yeah, my husband's
you're trying to
workplace.
make it out. All I'm trying to say is that it can go both ways. See, the authenticity is the problem. Say, for example, you have accused Vairamuthu, and then there are other people who will say, no, she's trying to quote attention. I'm not saying that you are
No, you can say it, I'm used to it.
No. So that's not my intention. All I'm trying to say is that, see, the problem for a person who is the manager, right? So I will have to evaluate whether, this is an authentic thing or somebody is trying to pin somebody down for something else, right? So how do you take, if you are in the position of a judge, okay, you were in a committee, right?
Yeah.
The general sympathy goes towards the women, which is also not being fair to the men. Okay, and as you rightly said, many of the men don't know what constitutes a sexual harassment offense, right? I just went through a BBC program on that, and then somebody was telling, even staring at a woman for more than 30 seconds or something like that is
30 seconds is long.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's really long
Just
time.
saying,
It's enough to make the woman.
says that we cannot go from here to there.
No, so
At
that
At
has
least
to
give
be
us the middle
proof.
ground and so
Yeah, proof has to be
Because
built.
the top
Obviously,
level-
nobody is going to make a subjective
but
assessment.
Sir.
Okay, you are privileged. See, I'm not saying that it was easy for men. I mean, like what you
Precisely why have you actually had, which is why I put the question back to you, have you had a workshop by an NGO to tell the men what is sexual harassment? So this is okay, this is not okay. Locker room talk. அந்த பொண்ணு செம்ம ஃபிகர்ரா செம்ம கட்டடா அவளை வந்து கரெக்ட் பண்ணி அவளை போட்டுடலாமாடா எல்லாம் பேசுவாங்க.
Basic lack of respect.
இது வந்து சாதாரண ஆபீஸ்ல நடக்கிற ஒரு பிரச்சனை. Slut shaming. அந்த பொண்ணை வந்து and do you know how many girls actually get taken for a thing just because she said no to a guy? I don't have the privilege of saying no. If I tell a guy, if a guy comes to me and says he's interested in me, and if I say no, I'm not interested in you, the man and his ego, some of them, or a good majority of them, are saying, how can she say no to me? And then that entire campaign starts. You need to, I don't know if you have a daughter and you have had these conversations with her. Yes, so
I make sure that she understands.
Correct. So
okay, and she has gone ahead in her office space. She's complained against harassment. Okay, and I've advised her on that.
Anytime a woman, a man in the household situation says the food is not good, the woman immediately says that you're harassing me for dowry. Okay, and the cases were so many. I still remember vividly. Okay, the cases were so many that the judges, everyone, okay, decided that if there is a dowry harassment case, the police, you better do a good study. You just don't drag the husband to the police station and give him a beating. That is what exactly used to happen. A woman goes, cries in the police station, the husband is brought, he's beaten black and blue. That used to happen 20 years ago. You know which landmark case changed this? Ambati, Dr. Ambati, who is actually, you can even Google, he is the youngest doctor in the world, okay? He cleared all the papers in the United States Medical Council within 16. I think nobody actually has beaten him in that particular record. He was harassed by his wife and his in-laws. Okay, he was such a nice gentleman. Okay, he didn't even talk about dowry. He probably even didn't take a penny. Okay, he was so harassed that he literally cried. And then one white man who was sitting next to him in an aircraft during a flight, he said, if this is your situation, all that you had to do was go to the police station and explain your case. and the police is going to do a study, and if the woman was wrong, they will put her behind bars. And now, how many dowry cases do you hear about? None.
What?
None.
What are
I
you
don't
talking
think so.
about?
I don't think so. I haven't.
That is, hello, what is, I'm so sorry, how can you say, how are they, do you know, there was this judge who actually beat his daughter-in-law just about a month ago.
Okay.
What are you
probably
saying,
it is
no
not.
dowry, adu none, ஒரு எடுத்த உடனே none. நீங்க வந்து ஆந்திர பிரதேஷ் தெலுங்கானால எந்த கோடிக்கணக்கில் வந்து டவுரி போயிட்டு இருக்குன்னு உங்களுக்கு தெரியுமா?
I read newspapers. I read one Tamil newspaper.
That's precisely why, right? The number of crores in which how the girls actually have to pay. The amount of harassment that happens, the amount of black and blue that happens, நீங்க பொண்ணோட அப்பாவா இருந்தா உங்களுக்கு புரிஞ்சிருக்குமா? இல்ல உங்களுக்கு கண்ணுல தெரிய மாட்டேங்குதா? இல்ல தெரிய மாட்டேங்குது. You don't want to see it.
Dowry is not even practiced these days.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to answer this.
No, let me finish.
Oh my God.
Let me finish. Okay, see, my father, okay, had 2 daughters and 5 sons.
Please don't compare Tamil Nadu also.
No, let me finish. The 2 daughters were married off in 1970. For both the daughters, he did not take dowry. For all the 5 sons, he paid dowry. I mean, other way around. Other way around. For the women, he paid dowry, and for the men, he didn't take dowry. For the sons.
Okay,
So what I'm saying is, there are some people, I mean, who are enlightened and who don't do it those days also. But you know, we used to read about so many cases of false dowry cases. Okay, now I hardly read about. See, I'm sorry, I might be ignorant. Okay, but I hardly read about dowry harassment cases these days.
I want you to go Google, just as you asked me to Google about Dr. Ambati, I want you to go and Google the number of dowry harassment cases and the dowry deaths that have happened. The past year at least, News Minute நீங்க எடுத்து பார்த்தாலே தெரியும், 10 girls have died. Dowry la. Mother-in-law was part of the murder. Dowry harassment case. It is like that. இங்க தமிழ்நாட்டிலேயே 10 கேஸ் இருக்கு. ஆந்திர பிரதேஷ் தெலுங்கானாவை எடுத்தா இது just now அங்க இருக்கிற ஒரு high court judge is that woman got beaten black and blue. It was caught on video. She was harassed for dowry, and the fact is they're rolling in crores. I don't need.
She doesn't want the mic.
And the fact that in 2019 you're saying there is no dowry harassment case.
I'm not. I'm saying I read an English newspaper. I read a Tamil
let her
newspaper,
speak,
and I have not come across any dowry harassment case.
We have a trained professional. Let her speak.
I have 2 things to say on this. Standard, the way to make sure that she loses confidence and conforms. Okay, this is one minute. That's about cooking. About cooking, I'm telling you, yes, women are very harassed with this whole cooking business. Okay, why the gender role, sir? You don't like the food, now go in and cook. No problem.
But that doesn't give her the liberty to go complain about.
Why not, sir?
False complaint about
That's
dowry.
not a false complaint. What I'm trying to tell you is that women, when they are to come into a house and adjust, quite often the point on which they are picked is as far as the cooking goes. Now the second point I want to come to, I want to tell you, not only does dowry exist, but today we are finding very polished ways of asking about it. Okay, we may not ask openly, we will ask indirectly. We will give the girl a tough time or not give her anything, and உனக்கு வேணும்னா நீ போய் somebody இல்ல உங்க அப்பாவை போய் கேளு. This is indirect communication, but it is there.
எவ்வளவு சம்பாதிக்கிற, உனக்கு எவ்வளவு வந்து ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி இருக்கு, இதுல எனக்கு எவ்வளவு எழுதி கொடுப்ப, உங்க அம்மா வச்சு நான் என்ன பண்ணலாம்? This was 8 years of my life until thankfully I found a Rahul where my father-in-law and my mother-in-law actually said we will split the cost of the wedding. How many boys' parents are willing to even split the cost?
No one. யாருமே even
கல்யாணம் வந்து 2 பேருக்கு நடக்குது.
ஆமா, அவ வந்து சாப்பிட்டுட்டு போவா, சாப்பாடுல அதில இதுன்னு சொல்லுவா தவிர நம்ம தான் வந்து செய்றோம்.
The New Year program, did you watch?
I don't watch TV at all.
I also not watched it.
I actually don't have
one. It was on WhatsApp, right? There were this bunch of young girls who were saying that
yes, patriarchy. Again, that is a construct of patriarchy. I want.
1 minute. So
girls were saying, "Enak nee dowry." Amma, correct. That is why I'm asking you to, sir, please, with all humility and for your age and your experience, I'm saying, please educate yourself the concept of patriarchy, where the girl is forced to ask for dowry from her own parents because she believes she's not going to be treated well in her in-laws if she doesn't bring a set amount of dowry.
No. You have not heard.
And
Since you have not
that
wondered,
was
you have not
highly shared இது சார் about dowry. எனக்கு எங்க அப்பா வந்து என்ன ஹெலிகாப்டர்ல கூட்டிட்டு போனோம். இத வந்து அந்த பொண்ணு
அது மாத்திரம் இல்ல, என்னோட மாமனார் மாமியார் வெளியில இருக்கணும். I will stay with my husband only, and this is the house. That is what she said. She is not talking about patriarchy. Oh, எங்க மாமனார் மாமியார் என்ன நல்லா ட்ரீட் பண்ணுவான்னு சொல்லல அவ. I am telling you one more thing.
It is unfortunate.
Beyond 40 or 35, do you know how many husbands are able to have a say at their own homes?
My husband is 38 years old. I believe he has a say.
No,
My husband has a say.
No.
It was not a competition, which is why in the beginning I said the construct of patriarchy has actually made sure that even men are losers.
No,
Men are losing it.
I don't know why you keep on blaming patriarchy.
Sir, read upon patriarchy.
Let me from a research point of view, patriarchy is not women against men or men against women. Patriarchy is a system of collective consciousness of control and oppression. Women can be patriarchal, men can be patriarchal. Women can be feminist, men can be feminist. So patriarchy is not male. Patriarch and patriarchy are not the same, right? Just like women can be. That's what we were talking about. Men have
A mother-in-law who demands dowry is patriarchal. Just because she's a woman, it does not mean that
a mother who body shames her daughter is patriarchal. A mother who body shames her son is also patriarchal.
A mother who believes that her son is better than the daughter is also patriarchal. That is,
yes,
whichever way, sir.
Whichever way.
It's the construct of sir, I gave you examples. I'll make sure that everything has a man in it first, so that it's.
So patriarchy is not being women. Being women behind the mic, we can only speak for ourselves.
I mean, like 10 years or 5 years of us having 1 year of us having talking about okay, let us please treat men equally.
No, but we don't want to appropriate the stories of men. Men have their own stories, and to come out and say it. And the reason that men are unable to tell their stories is also patriarchal conditioning, because it runs both ways. Men are expected to be strong, boys are expected to not cry. Be a man.
Emotionally strong.
You actually have the freedom of saying I will take a break from work for 1 year and take care of my grandchildren or children.
No, I'm not old enough to be grandfather.
For example, sir,
yeah, I took 6 months off.
Yes.
Good on you.
Yeah, I came back from Indonesia.
Fabulous.
That's the point, right? So you are a privileged, probably 1% of the men.
1 minute. I had to work hard for that to reach that privilege stage. I have to go back to work again.
Okay, we'll take
Shall we take the next question?
Yeah, please. I was asked a question.
We can have a conversation.
So first of all, it took me a lot of time to pick up the mic. I think that is the first thing we have to address, that it's scary to pick up. And I am doing a PhD at IIT Madras. I am not someone who's usually afraid of talking. But when we talk about these things, it is very intimidating. Right. First thing is, there is no dowry is a joke. Because in my campus, these things may not come out in news, but a guy was suspended because he created an app for calculating dowry for men.
Yeah.
He is using his intelligence to come up with such things. Okay.
That's true. IIT, IIM, visa status for the boy, whether it is H1B, green card, citizenship, based on that and which country you are an expat in, aduketapatti dowry rate cards are there.
No, not necessarily. I have a colleague who is the dumbest of them all. He says he wants minimum 100 crores dowry. But still, he's
Telugu, yeah.
Telugu is very
common.
And then the second thing is when my parents are seeing for me, they say, okay, you PhD PhD if we give you gifts in gold, which is code word for dowry, then you will get married. I am like, I don't want to marry such a person who will choose this method of buying.
Really good on you for.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Preeti. You're being a great inspiration for me to many things, especially in music and vocals. எனக்கு ரொம்ப ஆசை மியூசிக் கற்றுக்கணும்னு, பட் ஸ்டில் ஐம் லுக்கிங் ஃபார்வர்ட் டு டூ. அண்ட் உங்களோட தெய்வம் தந்த பூவே என்னோட ஃபேவரட் நம்பர். ஆக்சுவலாக மை மாம் இஸ் நோ மோர், but whenever I'm listening her, I used to hear that it makes me just better. Now, can you please sing that song?
Sure.
Lovely.
Are we done with talking?
And then we can take it outside and yeah.
Thank you.
ஒரு தெய்வம் தந்த பூவே கண்ணில் தேடல் என்ற தாயே
வாழ்வு தொடங்கும் இடம் நீதானே, வானம் முடியும் இடம் நீதானே, காற்றை போல நீ வந்தாயே, சுவாசமாய் நீ நின்றாயே, மார்பிலூரும் உயிரே, ஒரு தெய்வம் தந்த பூவே, கண்ணில் தீரல் எந்த தாயே.
Thank you. I mean, thank you for telling it like it is, not sugarcoating it. No, that's good. And you've shown us how the arts field is a lot more than just performing and working outside. It's almost becoming a way of life and choosing what, the kind of life that we want for ourselves. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Vasudanti, for making this happen. And thank you, Aarabi, for doing what you do. And of course, I'd like to thank Sarangi for making everything happen. And for all of you for being such an interactive audience. And it's been just wonderful to be hearing all of the different viewpoints. Okay, and just a couple of announcements. So we have Devan here. So we had Mrs. Jigyasa Giri, who came for our previous talk. So they're celebrating their 10 years, and there's a show on the 24th of November. That's next Sunday at Naradagana Sabha. So please do go for it. I mean, you'll have to buy tickets, I suppose. So please check their page for details. And Aarabi is part of a play. It's a contemporary play directed by Gauri Ram Narayan. It's called What She Said. So almost along the lines of our talk today. It's on December 8th at Kalakshetra Foundation. And we also have, for people who are interested in the classical arts specifically, it's called Decoding the Classical Arts. It's a workshop by Gayatri Iyer. It's on December 7th and 8th at Book Office at Adyar. For anyone, writers, photographers, videographers who's interested in classical arts and how to approach it from the media point of view. Thank you so much for being here, and of course you can continue your informal discussions.